Hey, Robert.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, how are you?
Can't complain.
What was behind the decision to cut minicamp to 2 days rather than the 3 days I think was originally scheduled?
No reason in particular. I feel like the guys have had a really good off season of work. That third day, it just felt like it'd be good for little organizational meetings and just kind of cross some T's, dot some I's. So it's not completely off, but we'll just do some in-house stuff and just not touch the practice field.
Players off that day? Or is that
No,
organizational?
no. It's just more of it's just we're getting through organizational stuff. Players, coaches, staff, support staff, and everybody else.
One here, Robert.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on getting the Jamison Crowder situation resolved?
Really excited. Think he's going to be fantastic in the system, and give him the opportunity to go showcase what he's done his entire career, and that's make plays. So really excited to have him here. Excited to get him in the fold, and excited to work with him. So really fortunate.
The plan for Jamison this week? Is this an acclimation period like you had with Carl, or is he going to?
Yeah, it's the same thing. So guys who have not been here, we're giving them the opportunity to go ahead and acclimate, and so you'll see it with Sheldon Rankins and Carl. We might ease Carl in a little bit here and there. I'm going to talk to him here before practice, but there's a couple other guys too. So.
Robert, is there any chance that Corey Davis does anything this week, or are you still going to wait for him with that shoulder injury until training camp?
Leaving it up to him with regards to how he's been progressing. I believe he wants to do some routes on air today, which will be good. But we're not pressing. We got a lot of young guys at receiver that need these reps, and whether he takes reps or not is not as important. But his presence out there and in meetings have been awesome.
Robert, what's your optimism level about Makai being 100% for the start of training camp?
We're very confident he'll be ready to go. It's like I said, he's just got a little nagging foot injury. It's not worth it to put him out there and make something so small a lot worse. So we're not worried about his availability for training camp.
Robert, what is your philosophy on how hard to practice players? Especially with the added 17th game, and has that kind of changed over time?
I think just in general, the way people practice and train with science and GPS numbers and tracking data and all the different things that have been made available to us, not only as a coaching staff but as a performance staff, have really helped with regards to how we train, deload, upload, whatever you want to call it, and how we handle and help these young men get through a football season, so they're always increasing. Try to eliminate risk of injury and all that stuff. So it's very mindful. We're very mindful of what we're actually working, but we're also mindful of making sure that we're always trying to peak and reach different peak levels, so that way they're not. We don't want to train them to be soft. We want to train them to continue to build and get better with regards to their load. So there's a lot of information that comes through, and it's all tied in together with what the performance staff gathers on a day-to-day basis.
Physical practices, are you an adherent of really working them hard physically at certain points of the season, or are you more of a mental rep kind of coach?
So there's I'm not beating around the question. There's rules that have been put in place with regards to how many padded practices you can have. So you can't, even if you wanted to be the old school 2 a day double padded practices, you just can't. It's not per league rules. You just can't. But I do believe that you do need pads on. I do believe that you do have to be able to hit and run into one another on a day-to-day basis, and that doesn't mean you grind a guy, because I still think you've got to be smart with how you prepare these guys to be their absolute best on Sundays. And if you're driving them to the dirt, they're just not going to be as efficient on game day. So there is a lot of balance there, and so there's that nudge to make sure that you're always building that callus, but at the same time you want to be very mindful of their well-being and making sure that they've got longevity through this thing.
Aside from Makai, are any of these other guys that have kind of dealt with some injuries or have been rehabbing throughout the summer. Is there anyone that you're worried about potentially not being ready for the start of training camp?
No, knock on wood. We've been very fortunate. We had a couple of things here and there that may have shelved guys for the rest of OTAs, but we're not worried at all about their availability towards training camp.
It's Kim Jones from my car. Hello. Now that you've been with your team for these number of weeks in this spring into summer, what's the biggest thing you've learned about this group?
It's you look at what they went through a year ago and just the struggles of just having not a good enough year, if you will. And the character of these individuals, the character of the men and the women even in this building, and just overall their mindset, their buy-in, it's a tremendous group of characters. I think Joe Douglas and his staff have done a phenomenal job with regards to the character of men that have been brought into this building. They have a tremendous drive, they have tremendous want to, and they've been putting it out on the field every single day, and they're starting to, and you just hope, and you just work as a coach, you just want to give them all the information you can, because you just want these young men to succeed, because they're doing it the right way, they're made of the right stuff, and they've just been a pleasure to work with. And now, like I've said, everything's been great, and we'll see what happens when there's adversity, because the true character of all individuals showcases once you hit adversity. But as of now, everything's been fantastic.
Follow up, when you mentioned no concerns about any player, does that include Denzel Mims, who, predating you, has kind of had some bad luck here with the hamstring in particular?
Look, we can't handle luck, but Denzel's in good shape. He's I know he's been bouncing in and out from an OTA's perspective, but we're not concerned about his availability for training camp.
You mentioned it, Jamison. Sorry. Okay, Robert, have you talked to Jamison? I mean, obviously this is a situation where he obviously did not want to take a pay cut. No one does. What is his mindset going into this year? Do you sense any bitterness, frustration there? What have been your conversations with him? What have they been like?
Jamison's a pro. We had a really good conversation last week heading into the weekend, and he's a pro. He's had a lot of success in this league, and he's still young. I mean, he's 28 years old, I believe, and he's going to have success here. And so I don't get in the contract stuff with players. That's not my role. But I do believe in Jamison. I do believe that he's gonna if he performs the way we all think he will, it's what happens this year is not even a worry, and that's so we're excited to have him, we're excited to plug him in, and we're excited to see where this thing goes.
You mentioned how you had guys obviously that endured a difficult year last year. When you first got here, was it hard or a challenge to sort of get them out of that funk, or did you find them kind of eager to get to work and put it behind them?
I'm going to take you through a scenario. If I can paint a picture for y'all. Last year was trying for this organization, right? But if you really want to just measure the character of the individuals and that are in this locker room, this team obviously had that first start, right? And had a pretty bad loss in the last second. Travel all the way to Seattle, right? So they're 0-for. They travel all the way across country to Seattle, and Seattle gets after them pretty good. They have to fly all the way back for a week's worth of practice, and then go all the way back out to the West Coast to play the Rams, who are a playoff team, and this group of men win. That is probably one of the hardest things to do in football, to have that type of travel after having consecutive losses that happen to them, to have the character, the resolve to bounce back against a playoff team playing for a division, and then to come back home and beat Cleveland, who is another playoff team. And I get there shorthanded, but it doesn't matter. It's still the NFL. It just speaks volumes to the resolve of the people that were in this locker room. And so when we did get here, that resolve showcased itself immediately. These young men want to work. They've been very receptive. They've been easy to work with. And like I said, we're excited to go through some hard times with them, because we feel like we've got men of great character.
Seen teams in recent weeks, actually most recently is yesterday, sign veteran quarterback backups. You guys obviously have not. What's the benefit to not having that guy? What's the benefit to Zach not having a veteran in the depth chart?
You know, it's a good question, Rich. It's because there's that balance of someone needs a veteran to kind of help them. There's a fourth round pick from a year ago. There's also Mike White. There's a lot of reps to be had for them to see where they're at, because they deserve that opportunity to showcase who they are. So there's a balancing act there, and you know, Mike and Morgan they've been doing a good job. I know you guys, you know, they've had their ups and downs just like Zach has, but it doesn't mean that, you know, to just think that just because they're a veteran it's going to help a quarterback. There's a match that has to happen. There's a scheme familiarity that has to happen. If you just bring in a veteran who doesn't know anything about your scheme, well, he's learning just like the rookie is. It's not going to, aside from helping them rehab and regen and study habits, which I think Zach is, and that entire quarterback room is already ahead of the curve on with how they handle their bodies and study. I don't know if there's much value aside from being comfortable that if something crap was to hit the fan, that you have a veteran who's played football. It's more of a comforting feeling rather than trying to work your ass off to develop the quarterbacks that are already in the building.
Interested in Nick Mullins?
Nick, we had discussions, but we felt like these young quarterbacks deserved an opportunity to showcase who they are, and I'm very excited for Nick to get that opportunity in Philadelphia.
Use Robert for training camp. Do you want to have a veteran in here for training camp at quarterback?
Well, once these mini camps are over, we'll sit down with Joe again, and we'll have a conversation about where the roster is, and make the decision during the next few weeks.
Robert, what's it been like having Marcus May in the building, and in terms of learning the playbook, where is he at in that whole process?
Really excited to get Marcus back. Obviously, you know, he's a leader on this football team, and guys have a lot of respect for him and his play style and the way he goes about his business. So feel comfortable about where he is. He's a pro. You know, he's been taking care of himself, and obviously having him here has been great.
Robert, I asked Jeff this question a few weeks ago when we talked to him, but I'm curious, just from a defensive perspective, preparing a rookie quarterback in practice, do you throw the book at him to say, like, okay, we're gonna give him everything he's gonna see this season in practice, or do you dial it back a little bit to say, you know what, I want this kid to have a little success, I want him to get a little confidence in practice, let's not wear him out, you know, on June 15th?
No, you know, it gets a little selfish with regards to the installation packages, offensively, defensively, and special teams wise. You know, offense is going about their business. I mean, if you think about it, offense is inside-outside zone, and defensively, they never get to see power, counter, all the gap schemes. So there's a selfishness there. And then on the flip side, we're a single high team, and our offense needs to see cover two and quarters, and it's just not what we do a lot of. And so there's that selfishness with regards to install, but at the same time, taking care of one another. Where the offensive coordinator will ask, "Hey, we need 1, 2, 3. All right, we'll take care of it. Can you give us 1, 2, 3? All right." So defense and offense are constantly going back and forth to making sure that we're all working in collaboration to get the best out of practice, but mainly for the entire team in mind, not necessarily just so the quarterback can get his work, but it's a mindfulness for the entire team to develop. So once we hit preseason, it's not the first time we've seen it.
We'll take a couple.
Robert, I guess a little bit in that line, Robert, is that you've obviously been a defensive-minded coach throughout your career. Has it been a little weird throughout OTAs and I guess heading in here to minicamp to not necessarily have a rooting interest entirely for the defensive side of the ball, or do you even have to catch yourself sometimes when you're overseeing both offense and defense now?
You know what? It does, because you see a big play made and you're like, oh. But I messed with the players the other day. I say, hey, I'm rolling with whoever's having the best days, so it doesn't matter to me. Like I'm just a fan of whoever's doing great. But there are moments, because you see everything that's happening, and you see offensive guys make a great play, and you're like, man, you just to sit back and just have an appreciation for all three phases and the work that's being put in, and really getting a chance to listen to the coach's coach, and the coordinators interacting with not only players but coaches, and kind of just making sure that everything's going the way you want it to go. obviously it's an adjustment and it's been different, but both have been an awesome experience.
Kim again, if I may. We'll ask you about a lot of firsts this year. You're a couple days away from kind of banking your first spring as a head coach in this league. What's it been like for you?
It's like I said, it's been great. You know, we've knock on wood, we've been very fortunate. We've got a tremendous staff. We've got tremendous support staff. Joe and his staff have been very receptive. They've been awesome. The players are such great character individuals, and I mean that. I mean, you see it at practice. They've got a lot of energy. They've got a lot of positivity to them. There's a lot of juice in the building. So this spring has been fantastic, and we're really looking forward to training camp. And I really am. I'm excited to see adversity. I'm excited to see how we handle it, so we can see where we're at from that regard. Because that's, like I've said, that's where character reveals itself, and that's where you're really going to get better, is through adversity and through tough times. And we're going to have some adverse moments right from the get, and how we handle it is going to make or break this football team.
Anything else for Coach?
We acknowledge Connor's glamour shot there. What do you think the model there?
I don't see Connor. There's a camera in my way, and I can't wait to have these press conferences in person, though, so we can.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
We're gonna glamour shot today, Robert.
I'm in the car. Guys everywhere. I'm trying to plan a wedding here.
Connor, I got a chance to play Pine Valley this weekend. It was unbelievable.
Oh, how was
Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you out there.
Thank you.